Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today, Democrat Larry Woods, Republican analyst Bill Phillips. We're talking about the presidential election, and now we're turning to Georgia, where there are 2 U.S. Senate seats coming up. The continuing attacks, Bill, that the president has made about the validity or the fixed nature of the elections being held is really having an impact in Georgia. Some of the president's strongest supporters down there are urging voters to boycott the January 5th runoff elections because they say they're rigged. Bill, how does that make any sense if the Republicans want to hold on to the U.S. Senate? They got to win both at least one of these seats, and it would really help their margins if they won both of them.
Well, I think this is a sign that the president has worn out with people. He went into Georgia allegedly to help 2 Republican candidates running for the Senate and spent the whole time whining about his own situation. It did no positive thing for the candidates. Plus, he's attacking, the Republicans that are in charge of the system in Georgia. Georgians are good, solid, and stubborn Southerners, and they decided enough is enough.
Larry, there's been a real fight develop, almost a schism among Republican officials down in Georgia over this. Biden carried Georgia narrowly, one of those states he did flip from 4 years ago. Is this a stretch to believe that Democrats can do that again? There's going to be lower turnout. Do they still have a chance to win both these seats in Georgia?
Well, my gut feeling is it's going to be a stretch for the Democrats to win either one of those seats. It was great that Biden carried the state, but running for the Senate's different than running for the president. And as you know, Pat, runoff elections are all about turnout. And Republicans are generally better organized than my Democrats, and that equals better turnout. Having said all that, though, both Loeffler and Perdue, the 2 incumbent Republican senators, have got problems about when they sold their health care stocks back in January or February after an early private meeting with the president's people who tipped them off that this pandemic was coming. They say they didn't sell it because of that. I don't know all the details. I'm not saying they did it wrong, but it's a live issue in terms of the contest in the election. It gives a big step up to Warnock and Ossoff, the 2 Democrats.
Bill, you were a longtime Republican. You even organized one of the national conventions for President George Herbert Walker Bush back some years ago. You've not been a Donald Trump fan even from the beginning. What do you see as the future of the GOP? Will it remain under the strong influence of President Trump, or will it ultimately fade away?
Well, one of the strengths of the Republican Party through the years, I think, is that each state has their individual parties that work hard for their states, and they would come together at the national level. And right now, it's clear that at the national level, there's great trouble. But the election, that great Democrat sweep that some were predicting, did not happen. The party is in good shape in the various states, particularly the traditional Republican states. And I think that's the future of the Republican Party, at least for the next couple of years, until they can get the act together in Washington, D.C. And we all know what the chances of that are.
Larry, let's talk about Joe Biden sort of going into office, unlike most presidents, without almost any coattails. He's got a much smaller majority in the House to work with, and if he doesn't win both those seats in Georgia, he's not going to have any control in the Senate. Is he going to be able to get anything done with his agenda if he doesn't have any support much in either House, or at least the support he thinks he needs in either House?
I think that's very astute and accurate analysis there. It's going to be a fight for Biden to get any new legislation passed, and he's going to have to negotiate with Mitch McConnell and the Republican leadership, and therefore he's going to have to compromise on almost anything he might want out of the U.S. Senate. So we're going to see, just like Trump did, we're going to see a lot of executive orders that doesn't require congressional support. To get any laws basically changing any of our systems, he's going to have to successfully negotiate with McConnell.
Joe Biden first has to put together his cabinet and his staff. He's doing that, trying to make it more diverse than perhaps we've seen in the past. Bill, we're already hearing grumblings, though, from African-American groups, from Latinos, from progressives, that he's not doing enough in that area. Is he going to be able to even hold his own party together to get these nominations through? Certainly the Republicans may create some problems for him to get some of these nominations through.
Well, the famous quote by Will Rogers, I'm not a member of any organized political party. I'm a Democrat.
True.
And so I think he's going to, have to reach out and do some mending. But Republican or Democrat, new presidents always fall short of what some of their supporters have in mind that they should be doing.
Larry, I'm sorry, Larry, the Defense Department nominee, the new Secretary of Defense, will need a waiver from Congress. President Trump got one for one of his. You have to be retired for a certain amount of time before you can take a job like that. But is that a fight or something President Biden needs to move on to? Is that a battle he's picking that maybe he doesn't need to pick? There are other people he could probably put in that position, maybe not as good as this particular person in his mind, but still, you got to get somebody nominated and confirmed.
I agree. And the issue of nominating General Austin to be the new Secretary of Defense, look, I'm saying Biden knows this man and trusts his military strategic judgment. Fine, make him your senior national security advisor in the White House. Wouldn't require a waiver, wouldn't require spending any of your IOUs you may have with McConnell. I think it's a bad appointment in that sense. It's right back to Dwight Eisenhower leaving office as president. We've got to be sensitive to the military-industrial complex. And, this isn't a good sign.
Larry Woods and Bill Phillips are our guests. We're talking politics. We'll turn now in the third block. We'll talk about what's going on in Washington about more virus relief, coronavirus relief. Is another bill going to get passed to help people, the millions of people in the country who need help? Back to talk about that after you watch these messages.